It's Rusty Diamond, motherfucker.
Yo, man. Boomus Rusty. Boomus Rusty. Boomus Rusty. What is happening, everybody? Welcome to the Public Access Podcast, the podcast here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN. And with other great shows that I co-host, such as When the Gloves Come Off, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast, This Is It with Lizzie, and Saved by the Ben. And is brought to you by Stoneries Productions, Red Band Savage as Fuck, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and suckemup.org. And so this is my last show of the week, Friday. Off for a few days so you can get caught up. So yeah, thank you everyone for being here. Like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. You can find this anywhere, anywhere you listen to podcasts, YouTube, Rumble, I don't care. Somewhere where I'll make some money off you looking at this. So or listening to it. Any way we do it is going to. So I just get out and listen and enjoy it. And you'll get to see my guest here, right now. Right here, right now. We have Kimberley Mansfield. How you doing?
Good morning. At least
Good
good
morning.
morning here on the West Coast. So great.
Ooh.
Thanks.
On the West Coast. So I saw a picture. You can't hear me?
No, I can't hear you. But are you in Bay City?
I am not.
Okay.
No, my friend is the one of my other co-hosts, he lives in Bay City. I saw on your Instagram you had a picture of Mount Hood on there. So I saw it right away. I was like, oh, that's Mount Hood.
Well, I saw the Bay City, so I didn't know if you were there or if you had a business there or what, because I'm 50 miles.
I do. I have a business there, but you're 50 miles from there?
I would be, right
inland.
West. And Mount Hood is right there. I'm basically looking at that.
Hillsborough-ish?
Well, actually, that picture is from upstairs. So
off 26 or something?
Pretty much Forest Grove.
Forest Grove. All right. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Grand Lodge out there.
Yeah.
Good place right there. Nice soaking pool there.
Ben, I'm right here, and
you're right there. Yeah. I grew up out there, and then the guy that I run, he co-hosts one of the shows, and we run a 501c3 together. So, and that's based out of the Portland area, or I guess Bay City. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So, I guess we can start there. So what was it like for you? Are you someone that's been in Oregon or the Portland area for a long time, or what's your story with that? Are you in the last 10 years, or are you from California in the last 30 years?
All of the above. Yes, my life on the circuitous route is, I started out here. I was born and raised here, I wasn't born in Forest Grove. Came to Forest Grove probably, I was grade school when we came here from like Astoria and other places. So, but Forest Grove is pretty much what I remember. But I graduated a year early from high school and was gone. So I was in Seattle area and stuff for a while. And then I was in California for a while. And then I was kind of back in Oregon and then back in Washington and then back in California. And then from California, was in Boston and lived out there for 8 years. So I still have my Boston cell number. I will die with my Boston cell number and all of the people attached to it. And then
I went there for the first time.
Did you?
A month ago. Yeah.
Did you love it?
It's pretty nice. Yeah. I'm about an hour 40 from there.
Oh, okay.
So, yeah. I'm like kind of between New York and Boston. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
So I used to pass you because I took the express bus between Boston and New York a lot.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's probably did. I wasn't there yet. I've only been here like 7 months. So I'm
Gotcha.
still new to this. But so you were in Boston. What were you doing out in Boston?
Um, well, at the time, an ex, like the company I was working for when we were in Southern California, picked up and moved us and transplanted to open their new locations in Boston, the first in Boston, in New York, and on the East Coast. And he was a big troubleshooter and stuff. So we went out to there. And then I kept the name and didn't keep the person. And I was there. So I was acting and directing and coaching when I was in Boston. And I had started in LA and stuff, but then I continued out there and kept pretty busy. And when I finally burn out and it was time to go, I got my passports and I sold everything I couldn't give away. And I came back to Portland and I bought a truck and a tent and I just left and spent about
Wait.
5,800
Oh.
miles between here and Key West.
So you went to Portland and got a truck and what do you say, a truck and a tent?
Yeah.
And you left Portland.
I did.
Not really most people no. Yeah.
I hadn't really traveled much. I mean, I'd been in spotty places, but not like so. Just me and my truck. It was an SUV. So Betty,
Okay.
Betty Boop, me and
Betty
Betty
the
Boop, and the
SUV. What was your route down there from Portland to Key
so
West?
I was generally headed for Key West. So because that's about as far as you can get without getting wet. And I went through Southern California, and where did I go? I came up through Colorado, so up through the south, so up through Grand Canyon and up through that way and through Colorado. And then I hooked down and went through Texas. And then I came up from Texas. I left Austin with a destination of Clarksdale, Mississippi, because there was a restaurant I wanted to eat at there. And
what was the restaurant?
Madidi. It was called Madidi. I don't know if Madidi still exists. So I'd had this terror. I had torn this thing out of God knows what magazine when I was in Boston, and I just held it. I kept this tear out about this magnificent restaurant and the mahogany in it, and it's in some small town. Small is an overstatement for Clarksdale, Mississippi. And it's in this tiny thing. So Morgan Freeman and his partner, and I just forgot his partner's name, John. Anyway, own this restaurant, and that apparently was Morgan Freeman's hometown, but it's this beautiful mahogany. And for a short while, I guess for about a year before I left Boston, I was burnt out on what I was doing. I was just overworked and needed a change and a breath. And so I'd been bartending. And so I was really into like the food and bev scene at that time. I was doing like really high volume, high visibility bartending. And so I thought, I'm going to go to this place. So I drove like 1,100 miles out of my way to go to dinner and had the most magnificent experience in Clarksdale, Mississippi. It's one of the coolest things I remember in my life.
They weren't lying.
Because it's beautiful. I'm not even sure that there's a stop sign in this town. There might have been. And because, they thought it was so novel, they're like, clearly I was no local. So, they want the story, and I had the thing. So I pull out the thing, right? My page that I ripped out of the magazine.
Okay.
And, the next thing I know, I'm like, what do you recommend for dinner? And the next thing like the chef's coming out, and he was some Michelin starred, like something in this, like super cool guy. And I was like, I trust you. I don't remember what he made me, but it was magnificent. And at some point, the partner came over who was dining and came over and had a chat with me and apologized that Morgan wasn't around that week. Like, oh, shucks, right?
Yeah.
And then, and made me their guest for the night. And they have a juke joint. Have you ever been to a juke joint?
No, I can't say that I have been to a juke joint. What is a juke joint?
Me either. It's anyone with like, I'm not using terms of art here, so I don't want to offend anyone.
Oh, yeah, you're not going to offend
who
anyone, I don't
in
think.
Mississippi who like could tell me exactly what a juke joint is. So we go down the street after dinner to their juke joint. And it's where like you walk into this warehousey space and there's not a chair or table or cup in the place that matches. And it's just this super warehousey. And it is the rawest, funnest, like blues and, like the whole area. The music was phenomenal. And I'm just, you're sitting in these things, pinching your head going, and a few hours ago, I was in Austin. And there's these crazy things. And the night wrapped up by the very, very large bouncer man outside, storming in the door, which I saw him come in. And he reaches into an office and grabs a handgun and storms back out the door. And the next thing, we're all being escorted to our cars because shots have been fired across the street and we all need to go. So,
Oh, that's a good, you don't have to go home, but get the hell out of here kind of a deal.
you need to go
Maybe.
somewhere.
So do you hear the gunshots?
We didn't hear, it was loud in there. So no, we
Okay.
did not hear them.
So,
But through the course of the night, they had gotten to, they wanted me to consult on like their wine list and the menu, and they wanted me to stay, and they already had a house that I wouldn't have to pay for. And I was like,
wow.
love
Queen of the
y'all, but I
town.
am not staying in Clarksdale, Mississippi.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So then you left, and then,
Great.
that was the end of Clarksville,
Yeah.
Mississippi.
And then it was a record day of tornadoes which I'd never been in a tornado, going across Mississippi the next day when I woke up in my truck doing this and took off driving, and you just watch the sky. I don't know if you've ever been in the Midwest or the South in tornadoes. It's pretty trippy.
I haven't been too close. I lived in Minnesota, and so we'd hear the sirens and there'd be alerts all the time, but I never saw a tornado.
Well, I saw both of our shares.
Cool, great. Yeah, I don't want to ever see one. I have a buddy who he was like, I want to go and chase tornadoes. I don't want to be anywhere near that stuff.
Oh, crazy people.
Yeah.
And I was headed for New Orleans, and that's where like that strip. And so obviously New Orleans quickly left my list, and I was just heading east trying to get out of this because it kind of comes up, there's like a big swath when they happen.
Sure.
That's a scientific term. And I was driving east, and my poor dad, I call my dad in Oregon, right? And I've been driving for hours and hours and hours, white knuckling, and I literally watch cars get blown off the road. There's semis upside down, and I don't know. I just have me in the middle of nowhere to go. And so just white knuckling it, because it's the only way to stay on the road, right? Like and I just kept driving and driving, and I was so exhausted. And I think I might've been in Alabama at that point. And I called my dad because I was like, you know what, if I don't make it. And I remember sobbing at that point because I was so tired and my hands hurt so bad. And he's like, forget New Orleans, drive east. And it's so loud, pelting on my car, that I'm screaming, sobbing, I'm driving east. And I drove all the way to Pensacola that day. So I drove about 10 hours in tornadoes.
Oh.
And we had to stop and pull off and let the last one go in front of us. And then I pulled into a rest area in Pensacola. And I was like, you know what? I'm done. If you're going to take me, just let me fall asleep first. That's all I asked for. Just let me be asleep. I'll be Dorothy. Let's go. But I can't. I was done.
Yeah, 10 hours of white knuckling is going to put you in a whole different mind space than.
Yeah, it's not like
you
can
need
go
to be while you're
70,
driving.
Right. When you're, it was
Oh.
crazy times. Gosh, I haven't remembered that one in a long time.
And so what happened when you were in Florida?
So I got to Key West, and I went and figured I'd, bartend, because it's a seasonal place and I could go bartend during the season, and I'd worked really high volume stuff. So that's kind of what I went down for. And I lived on a houseboat, as you should if you're going to, be in Key West, which was super cool and amazing. My rickety little houseboat that was the size of a thimble. And so I bartended for the season, and it's craziness there. But the weather's good. I could bike and run all the time. It's removed. It's chill when it's in between the waves of cruise ships and events and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, I bet.
And a bar owner in Missouri came into my bar in Key West and said, "Ever been to Lake of the Ozarks?" No. Is there a lake in the Ozarks?
Only been to Clarksville.
I've only been to Clarksdale, Mississippi. Can't
Clarksdale,
help you.
Mississippi. Yeah.
And he said, "Well, you laugh, but we're here because we close for the winter. So, And I was like, yeah. I've bartended in Boston on the front line and in Key West. Okay, Missouri." But at the end of the season, I kind of left and camped my way up there and, went through, I don't know, 10 states to get to Missouri and hung out in a little cabin in the woods and looked around and was like, I could probably sling a few drinks here.
And so
And then I
did you?
ended up making ridiculous money.
Was it like Ozark, the show?
Oh, hum the tune. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, you hear the Deliverance tune is and it
okay.
actually is. There are lots of things about Ozark that would hit square home. Yeah. So
All
there's
right.
bodies in them woods.
I bet.
But the money was good enough. I went back 8 or 9 summers.
Wow.
'Cause I could work just under 4 months a year and then travel and go back to school in the off season. And,
Seems like an all right way to do things. Yeah.
Physically brutal. That's not a lifetime bartending, a career bartending way. I mean, we were, you have hooks for hands, like the volume is so high and it's, it really is, an aerobic activity. And I was working way too many hours. I'd work 110 hours a week at times. Like it was, yeah. But, so it's just a giant lake. As that happens, there's a 100-mile long lake in Missouri that's, it's people bar hop by boat and it's all water sports.
Oh, geez.
Second homes. So there'll be over 10,000 boats on the lake on a busy Saturday. Like, yeah, it's nuts.
Traffic on the lake.
Oh yeah. Oh, big time. Dangerous, actually. The water gets so rough. Yeah, lost a lot of people.
What do you mean lost a lot of people?
I think in season, if you went through 8 weeks or 10 weeks in season, then it was nearly, if you averaged it, like nearly a death a week.
Just from people out on the water.
Yeah. A lot of boating while intoxicated incidents.
I bet.
People do crazy things, but also people just normal like drownings. You get that many people in one place, right?
Yeah.
In the water. So that part of it was hard. Because they'd been like people that had been my regulars and stuff. Happened kind of right in front of our bar one night, and I just sit there and bartend for like the next 2.5 hours while the boats drug the cove for bodies. It was, yeah.
Yeah, that would kind of throw off the vibe of the night. Yeah, the vibe of the night might change while you
things get real fast.
Yeah, someone doing that, and so then you said in Boston, you said you were acting and coaching. Is that what you said?
Yep, acting, directing, and coaching.
Acting, directing, and coaching. It's like acting and directing, like what kind of stuff?
Mostly theater. And I started doing stuff in LA, and there were commercials I did. Over the period also in Boston, like bunches and bunches of commercials, lots of that, and some small independent film things. I liked the creative part. I liked working with screenwriters that were, developing things. I found that those were, I don't know, more attractive to me. I didn't like when I started to lose my privacy. when and doing commercials and stuff, you kind of lose your privacy, and it's like, that's, it's an odd, they're yin and yang, two sides of the same coin of being kind of in the business. But I really like the theater.
I'm sorry. So you're talking like seeing you from a commercial. It's like, oh, hey, it's her from the commercial.
And billboards and things like that. And it's just odd. It wasn't a life I grew up in. You know what I mean? I didn't grow up in Southern California. I didn't grow up with family in. So it was, I keep my private life and doings like fairly private. I mean, here we are being visible, right? I get it.
Yeah.
But otherwise, so,
that's how
but
I have this and then everything else, like, nope.
Right. Yeah.
Nope.
It's your life. Life is outside of this room, right?
Right. Very much so. Yeah. That's what I'm a big fan of that. I'm not one of those people who, puts every little detail up on the, and I don't know. I don't buy into it. I don't read anybody else's stuff that they go and I don't care, like I'll see you if I want to, we can talk, but I'm not gonna, I don't know, spend a bunch of time scrolling through stuff for instant gratification, maybe that you're hoping is going to happen, but who knows? But I mean, I don't know. I don't talk.
We got the JOMO going, right?
Yeah. I don't not talk. Yeah. I don't need my life. Yeah. Outside of this room. This room is it. But so then what were the theater, what kind of
New
shows were you
works
doing?
mostly. Probably 95%. Like I wasn't a classically trained or anything. Again, I wasn't brought up in it. So I like new stuff. It's cool being in Boston because there are writers there that bring stuff to Boston to test it and warm it up. And so I think my favorite, I don't remember the name of the piece now, but I got to do a Teresa Rebeck piece that she debuted in Boston. And I got to, do, I think it was a 2-person role. And it was one, I loved her work anyway, before that. And then she came to, and they tweak and sort things out, right, when it's there. So she wasn't on site tweaking, but I got to, so that was pretty cool stuff. I like the development part, I guess, is what it comes down to. Script analysis script and characters is what hooks me about the whole thing. And from the get-go, and it was the first place in my life where I could have feelings without being silenced and, inconvenient and things like that. To me, it was the first time I had permission. And it was a part of myself I'd been trying to obliterate for so long. And then I finally found a home for it. And so it was kind of my way. I thought, other people, I can't be alone. And it was my way to give people permission to feel and so it was super therapeutic, I guess, is what I'm saying. But it also, to me, serves kind of a bigger purpose and to reach, people.
So what do you mean you were trying to put away that part? I think I'm speaking that incorrectly.
Basically, just 10 years of alcohol and substance abuse. It was the only way I could have a conversation, like socially. I think that I was incredibly, incredibly naive. I hadn't, wasn't worldly. I wasn't traveled. It kind of greased the wheels. I was trying to put myself in the whole gender normed roles, that you date, you get a man, you have a family, and that's what I knew growing up, right? My oldest sister did, and that's what everybody, and I was like, I always knew that was not my deal, but I didn't know what else existed in the world. So I didn't know what was my deal, but there's this, this going on where all my life, I just remember always being a deep thinker. And I can name that. I couldn't name it, obviously, as a kid, right?
Right. And they don't teach about that kind of stuff in school.
Of course not. Of course not. And, and we know, right? Our parents do what they can with what they have and what they've known and grown, right? And
Right.
so that's how it perpetuates generationally. But I just never got over this. It never died inside, that self-awareness and things like it just, I was at odds with myself. I mean, obviously I've done a lot of work on this. I can articulate it now and I get it. And I forgive everyone, including myself. But I also see that, man, I couldn't begin to tell you how many days I woke up and went, oh, what do you know? I'm still here. All right. And was just shocked, and went and did it again.
Do it again.
And did it again. So, and then, I mean, at some point, it was actually the LA County, it was the Long Beach police who decided to end my run. And, a few days in LA County lockup with like 20 of the toughest chicks in Southern California.
Yeah.
It's a wake up call, right?
So that's what it was right there. That time right there.
Yeah, I immediately knew. I was begging to get tips for somebody to end it. I was begging for whatever reason. I couldn't myself, right?
Yeah. So you just went in there and you're bring it on. Let's do this, or what was?
Well, there were lots of requirements. When I got out, as far as treatment requirements and check-in requirements and things like and all that.
Yeah.
So yeah. And I did. And full disclosure, I mean, I do partake in alcohol on limited basis now, but I went 13 years before I did.
Yeah.
And in 13 years, like it was just a whole different life by then. Like everything about that dynamic and people I was around and everything, I had changed and shifted. So it was very different. It was a very conscious decision when I decided to have a glass of red wine.
What happened there? What was going on there where you found it was the right time?
I don't know. What's weird is I knew when I was driving up from Key West to Missouri, it was so weird. I had this talk with myself and I was like, life is so different and I feel so different and I am so different. And that the next person who offers to buy me a drink, because that happened all the time, and I had no problem just saying, thanks, no thanks. I don't drink. I mean, I was perfectly comfortable not drinking when I was not. But I just said the next person who does, I'm going to have a glass of Merlot or low. I didn't even like Merlot, but it stuck in my head. And, I'd been at the lake like probably a day and I was a bar rat anyway. I hung out with bartenders. I mean, that's what I knew. That was my world. And I had no problem sitting at bars, traveling internationally and sitting at bars and everything and not drinking. Like it just didn't bother me. But then I just decided to have it. And it was kind of no big deal when I did.
And then it was just.
There probably been moments, times over the past number of years where it's like, yeah, it's not great. It's not good for me. I mean, I'm pretty darn health and well-being conscious now. So it's something that, I'm a neuroscience fanatic, and quantum biology and all things functional geek. That is where I totally nerd out. And
where'd that come from?
I don't know. I think over time it stems from a gratitude. And I think that's a big thing you learn in the program is gratitude. And I think I had it anyway. I've always sort of been in awe of, life and the things surrounding me. It's part of that self-awareness part. But
yeah,
I think gratitude, I feel like I have the one, life's too short not to love it. And I don't want to trash it. I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful for this mechanism that I get I get one vehicle in this life. And
right.
And I've got a lot of making up to do for all the years. So I'm kind of just trying to outrun all the damage I did back then.
Huh.
So
what do you mean make up for the years?
To be
you feel
so
like you missed
healthy.
out?
And I'm not, for the years of trying to obliterate myself, basically, the times I really didn't treat myself well. And I didn't, obviously, if I'm working 110 hours a week, I'm beating my body up really hard
Sure.
protractedly. And so it's just that stuff. I mean, the more I learned about myself on a molecular level and on a cellular level, it's like, wow, okay, cells are amazing. And we have this incredible inner rehabilitative capacity. So what can I do? And then I started taking, I hadn't gone to college at all yet. So I started chipping away and taking some. And the more I got into it and realized like this sciencey hat came on, and the biology of things, to be super basic, gave me the inroads to see the potential.
So
It's another thing we're not taught is like, if you do these things, like your body you have amazing power input, garbage in,
Right.
garbage out, right? And I think we're not really taught, and it feels like we're a product of our environment, but we don't have to be,
Right.
to the extent we are.
We were taught the food pyramid at school, which is
Right.
a bunch of like stuff made up by the FDA, I believe, that put that
By the
together.
funders who paid to have those
right.
little things printed.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I've learned all about that. So
Yeah.
and so I think that's where now, like, taking, I think good to better care of myself. I think some people think I take that I'm, an extreme. I think according to that, standard American diet, yeah, I think I probably am.
Well, with the standard American diet, it also is, I mean, people in other countries don't take supplements. Like we only have supplements here because they take all the nutrients out of the stuff and then
Right?
force you to buy the supplements as well.
Yeah. The anti-nutrition of it is stunning.
Yeah.
But it's not even breaking even. We don't have a break even. You're either anti-nutrition or you nutrition. Like, so yeah. So I think I aim for nutrient density is
if you can. Yeah.
And yeah. So I don't know. How do we get there?
To the nutrient density of everything. And so then so did that lead you to anything different with your life, or was that always, when was that start you going to farmers markets, Whole Foods, something like that, or like what was?
Somewhat. I mean, that's more, I would say, in the last number of years. I mean, once I eventually so I'm an attorney, and I mean, I've been practicing 10 years now, but so I would say it was after that time that I was able to get, I think before that time, I was cooking healthier and eating, better and all that. And through law school, you have very little. So I'd fix something for the week, meaning if it's decent when it goes in the pan, my week is going to be decent because that is all there's going to be. So that was the planning there. And then now that I have time, I mean, there's no time in law school. But I've gotten better, I think, in the learning thereafter, as far as that's when I really, my neuroanatomy, my craving for knowledge and understanding. I mean, the whole body. I mean, I grew up fairly athletic, so I was aware. The mind-body integration, that was always a big thing. I got that. I personal trained when I was young. So, I mean, there was stuffs in there, but knowledge has come so far. And the craving for learning and knowledge and then being able to apply it. I mean, I'm my own little petri dish, right?
Right. Yeah, absolutely.
We all are. There's really no mystery to anything that's going on in us. We don't just get sick one day. The fact is, if we reverse engineer and unwind it, you can see what progressed its way there. Things don't just get sick. So now I try to do all organic, or mostly largely organic stuff. A lot of real food. I'm not vegetarian, but if I'm going to get beets, they're going to be as good as I can get, grass fed, grass finished, and that. This has really been sort of got some momentum on this because I'm in a support role for my senior parents. And this is the basement. And I've been here for nearly 3 years now. There was like my dad had a health issue. That's how it started. And then there have been other things going on throughout. And I hospiced the 15-year-old dog for 15 months. And, my mom has some challenges. And so I'm running point on all the medical stuffs and doctor stuffs and the appointments and all of this. So after dad had his quad bypass, which super active, super sharp guy. But I had a quad, and then I cook every day. So then it was like, oh, no. Things are going to be clean. We're going to have, and all this. And I now love it. And I cooked before, but not regularly. I'm certainly not trained. And that being conscientious of that, and then I'm eating better as well, like routinely. Their numbers, like his blood numbers have gotten so much better. They're pulling him off of meds. Like he is my exhibit A. And I want to write a cookbook. I don't measure very many things. So I don't know kind of that, but it's going to be called I love you from the inside out.
Yeah, I like it. And you know what? If you don't measure things, that means you can come up with your own unit of measurement. 3/4 of a handful, something or a
It means I can put more of my favorite stuff in it.
Right, all as much as you want. And why not have a cooking book? And then, so what brought you into law? Transition happened.
So I almost died when I was in Missouri. So in like 2008 or 9 or somewhere thereabouts. And while I was recuperating my 8 weeks on the sofa, thankfully with a gorgeous view over the lake, I thought it was one of those moments again where I was like, I'm still here. What do you know? Must mean I need to do something. And this time I am smarter than when I used to think this. So I better figure that out. So while I was laying there, I transferred all my credits to Portland State, because I would home base out of Oregon when off season and then travel. And so I thought I'd transfer them back and I would figure out, get a degree. And so my background's in psych. And then at the end, the choices really were either clinical psychology, as an advanced degree, or law. And I couldn't come up with a study. I couldn't even fathom doing a study. So I went law. You do a study, you have to, the minute you're in the grad. And I barely survived statistics. So I was a little worried on that.
That was the one thing that saved me. I couldn't get past algebra because I took that in high school, and I would pay a kid to do it for me. So then it came back in college. But then, so with statistics, the first about half of the course is all stuff out of 100. And just like, so I was able to get A+ on all that part. And then I think I flunked the rest. So I was able to get just enough to be able to get my math requirement out of the way because that was math 243, I believe, was statistics at Portland State. And yeah, that was the only one. And just because I was only able to get past that. But so okay, so I didn't mean to interrupt you on that part. It's just
no. I love it. What's your degree?
Sidebar.
What did you?
I dropped out. I dropped out when I worked for the government. So that was the end of it. I was done there. I transferred. I was at PCC, and then I transferred to Portland State, basically to get a Facebook, because this was 2005, I think I was there, and then I think I had a term and a half, and then I got an opportunity to get a job, and I was over school. I didn't like. I think I got both the time, like college, or community college and regular college. I had to work hard to get a 2.0. Both times, like I was not going to graduate because I had like a 1.9 something GPA. And so I mean, that tells you about where I was with school. And then, but yeah, then I found hypnosis, taught my class, but it's a different story. Yeah, I mean, school, it was just not, I was all right leaving it. And I think now, like I'd say it's a bunch on here. I mean, you don't really, there's, unless you want a piece of paper or you need if you're getting your past the bar or whatever it may be. I mean, there's not really much need for a lot of schooling. I mean, there's definitely the need to learn a lot of things, but I mean, you can get a full education from Harvard, Stanford, or MIT all online for free. And anything else you can find on YouTube. And if you can't find anything else there, I don't know what to tell you and what it is you're trying to figure out. But yeah, I mean, education's there.
Yeah. I mean, in many countless different forms. And I think it's the person who wants to learn is going to learn wherever they are, whether they're in an organized setting, and that you're going to look for it. I mean, the biggest things I got out, and I know I would have never gone sooner. I'm glad I didn't go sooner. I'm glad I had like life experience. So there's one thing that I could tell people is if you're going to go, take some time so that you have something to set it on, so that you have some way to, critical thinking. You just have bigger vision. You can think instead of going in and learning things, black and white by rote. I think that's, you then feel it can box people in instead of kind of having this life to then consider, the lens to consider things through. But yeah, there's tons of different ways. And the people that want to learn are going to learn in school. The people that don't want to learn aren't going to learn even in school. So to me, I don't know. I could probably come up with classes that I could name something specific that I learned, but to me, more than that, it was learning just to like exercise my brain. It's like going to the gym and doing more than one exercise in all these directions, and you end up collectively flexible and strong. And so that's what I got out of it. But I think that would have been very different if I had gone early on. I don't think that is how that would have happened. And I can see how it doesn't. I guess I watch it at play in other people. And then certainly, in law school, it was very specific how that was applied. But again, I wouldn't have gone a minute sooner because I would not have been ready and I would not have got out of it what I did in not the individual discrete things we learn, in the thinking process, in realizing that, I went into law school, again, very naive, and not understanding that lawyers don't know everything. I thought they know everything. So you have to figure out how to catalog and file everything in your brain and recall it, which is a pretty daunting thought, right? And the fact is, we just know how to find it out. We know how to look for things. We know how to research. We learn how to dot connect in different ways. We learn critical thinking skills. And I didn't understand what critical thinking skills were. Critical to me was kind of the atmosphere I grew up in. It was critical. It wasn't, and it's not about critical. It's not a judgment thing. It's about critically bringing in, which I like as much information as I can get.
Me too.
And then and then you can assimilate, right? You can think through and figure out where you stand on things, and kind of sit in a place where I observe without opinion and bring it all in. Because the second we have that, the thinking part, the thought, the opinion on something, then chemically we're telling our body, reject this, get that, and we end up with confirmation bias and all that stuff. So
what other people are saying.
Yeah. Right. And the influences. And so I think, maybe as we mature, hopefully, that we figure out how much of how we operate, what we think and do, isn't really our own, that, we've come about it by very predictable means, but that it doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah.
The old, I can't change. I am who I am. It's like, yeah, no, you're changing every day. That's just just false. It's just patently false from
at any age. Any age, you're gonna still change. You're never too set in your ways, and if you are, then you're doing something wrong, and you need to reevaluate your life and be like, I can change. just change your perspective that you can change is what you need to do. And if
Yeah.
you need help with that, there's people to help you. And, or but you really, you need to look within yourself.
It's all about, which is why I coach now. Because that's the only true frontier to me, is the inside. And it's also the only power. And I don't mean that in a, overwhelming sense or a nefarious sense, but in, the second we point at something, we're powerless. So I can change myself in any situation, in that. Not easy, but simple when you boil it down to things. It's, my particular inroads, my superpower in the coaching stuff, I use it with law clients too, is that parsing language and thoughts, because thoughts are things, language is things. It's different because we look for the impact on a human being, first our own, and then outwardly, because we're dealing with humans, we're stuck with it, and we're all animals, right? At the end of the day.
Sure. Yeah.
So
and,
you trigger, you're changing that circuitry all the time. And people, especially clients, they're going after something and they think the way to get it. I'm like, we got to go at this differently. If you really want to get what you want. And in changing our approach, they feel like they're not going after it. And that's a big part of the education is, but you are, because you're affecting, what is the effect you're having over here? You can't discount the effect you're having on the other side.
Yeah.
So bringing people together to, I'm not going to say compromise in that's too, but where there's more opportunity, physiologically, more opportunity to massage things and come to agreements. That's my approach. Very coachy.
You gotta be able to realize that something is needing to be better. And unless you really just don't want to, I got a huge something outside my window. Unless you don't want to, and then that's fine too. But I hope everyone can evolve some way and make yourself better, make your life better. Even if you want to just stay the same, make staying the same better. There's nothing wrong with making this staying the same better.
Right?
Yeah.
That's a biggie.
Streamline stuff.
I think you can upgrade, and it's a big thing I hit on with clients, and that is you can upgrade life without upending it.
Right. Yeah.
Because people constantly like, oh, but I can't shift this, I can't change that. And it's like, well, sometimes that's true. Sometimes it's not entirely true, but you can change, obviously, the in here, how you show up for it. And it's like the sky opening when people, do that. Like, it's wild to watch them. They haven't, in a practical respect, changed anything in their 24/7. And yet, my students and actors in Boston taught me that I'm a coach by their responses and the feedback, because I have these bundles. I pulled them out when I decided to shift out of litigation and much more weighted in the coaching side. Well, all more weighted in the coaching side. And I dug them out of the basement here from, like 20 years ago, this bundle of cards, and went through them and read them. And they were from my people in Boston. And they just over and over would say, it was great, the show was great, or I learned this, that, or the other, but you changed my life. And I was like, well, okay, whatever's working here. And then I read over and over, and some people had examples, because some of these individuals were professionals by day, right? Power brokers at Lehman Brothers, when Lehman Brothers was a thing, executive secretaries here, mom of three there. Some were professional actors, some were on their way, like transitioning out of college acting and into the field. All of these, like, variety of people. And yet the experience that they keyed in on was a life shift. And it was the spillover effect for how I instinctively approached, taught, directed that, but it spills over into their life. Like, that was such a big realization to me when I really years later look back and put those two together. I mean, I saw it, I lived it, I knew it was happening, right? Which is why I did it the way I did it, because it got results. But now I really see like how it is. Well, and I've lived it, like my own life has the same effects spilling out. So yeah, I really learned what I do from them. They told me.
That's how you evolve.
Right.
That's how you move forward. And if people are going to want to evolve themselves, how are they going to get a hold of you? How are they going to find you and check out what you do?
They can DM me. They can hit me up at Skilled Clarity ESQ on Instagram. That's what I check regularly. My Facebook, I'm sure you'll pop the link. Facebook to DM. SkilledClarity.com is up. I'm not happy with the site, but there's some tweaking to do there. But in any event, there's a destination. So that's on that side.
Side note: if you need help with a website, if you want to do a complete redo of your website, sites.google.com, free, very simple. And there's also some AI ones that will take existing websites and you can literally take the parts off of it and copy and paste your own stuff. So like if, let's say that you have the, YouTube homepage, and you type that in, you put that in, and then you can go and make your website look like that, but just change like a few of the banners, change the videos, put your videos in there. And so, yeah, it's making a website's a lot more streamlined and easy than it used to be. I was really overwhelmed with mine, and I got on the Google sites and did it in a few hours. And
wow, I will check it out. I don't know this stuff like tech. I just oh man, if you want to drive me crazy, give me something that doesn't work. Like when one earbud works and one won't, and then I mean, beyond turning things off and turning them on or replugging them. These are the things, like I am great in a crisis. You give me big stuff, I am money, man. But you give me the little things like that. Well,
yeah. But the big idea, you got the big idea there, and that's the part that's I
am who you want around in a crisis, hands down. Yeah. You break a nail, and I am, the last person you want to talk to.
I think that's something. If you break a nail, you go to a nail salon, but anything else, you get a hold of Kimberley Mansfield. And so, Kimberley, thank you so much for being on here. It was great getting to talk to you and meet you.
Can I ask you one question before we go?
You can ask me 3 if you like, 4 maybe.
Awesome.
One's fine.
I always have lots of questions. I mean, that's what I do, right? I mean, I parse language. So here's what I thought was funny. First of all, when we first connected and I listened to some episodes, I was like, oh my gosh, like my brain is kind of a Super Bowl in a round room. So looking at the eclectic, I think, is an understatement for your topics and people. Like the athletic trainer, we've got the quantum frontier. I couldn't quite keep up with him. But there's like,
that was wild.
Right? And I'm a biology person. I was like, I was in my car driving, trying to go, okay, I'm going to try and make this work. I'm trying to make this work so that, that's what I do. I go, well, let's suppose it is, and oh man, I was exhausted when I got to my destination.
With that light box, I knew like a little tiny bit, but the rest was just like, you get this picture of something.
I'm just that's where I'm going to observe without opinion at this point, because I do not have enough information. I mean, all of my quantum mechanics, I did not help me there. So all this different stuff. There was the counseling, there's the empathy, there's the athletic trainer that, and it was all, so there was all that good stuff. And so I popped into and listened to the different pieces, of things, and it was like and I love the variety. And then what's funny is then I went back. So my question, that was a long way to get to my question. And keep in mind, my question comes from, because my superpower is parsing language and the impact, right, on human behavior, the human being. And So what's with the intro?
So the intro came from I never got to use it. I had it. Well, when did I make it? I want to say I made it maybe 2014 or so. And I was going to use it for my entrance music for wrestling, but it never came through. And so I was using it for the podcast, and then that just went to that. And I was like, well, I'm going to keep it. I had it, and I've had it like where I had tried to do an edited version, and still like they didn't really want me to do that on the shows with the edited version even. So I just saved it the podcast where I kind of have my ability to do what I want. And I shouldn't say motherfucker all the time, or started off with motherfucker. It can drive some people away, but
that's why I was curious,
my
because then
language.
it's like, I immediately go into that mode. I'm like like when you plug something into a system and it starts going through, it's running through my filters, and I'm like, wait, hang on. Okay. That can be very, to each their own. people know what they want to magnetize, like it completely. And the only question I came up with, and again, this isn't a whole change, is why the effort part isn't just bleeped, because then we all know, and actually quite frankly relate to what you're saying, but there are certain individuals you don't lose at the beginning.
Right.
Because it's the same, it doesn't take it, to my mind, it doesn't take away. In fact, I think it adds, because you're kind of acknowledging, I'm going to say what I'm going to say, but I'm not going to rule out everybody. And it has, because everybody knows what you mean, and everybody goes, yeah, no shit.
Right. Yeah. This is me. And also, I figure within that time, whoever is going to stay around is going to kind of understand, because there's going to definitely be times when there's stuff that I say that is going to be, maybe polarizing, maybe out of left field, maybe interesting, maybe funny. I don't know, but it will maybe get some people away who eventually would probably not enjoy what I'm doing. Kind of filter some people out sometimes, and
yet you've got all of these like across the board, like draw on topic wise of some pretty substantive stuffs. And I was thinking, oh, I wouldn't want anybody to miss that. Oh, I wouldn't want anybody to miss that. Oh, yeah. I don't know. That's just my vote. Just one beep.
Yeah.
I still know where you're coming from. There is no mistake there. And I do think people resonate. But it has
you're saying put a beep in there.
Well, just over the upper part.
Okay. Well, it wouldn't be very hard for me to do that.
Because again, we all know there's no mistake to what you said.
Right.
But it opens the door a little more for people who might, right out of the gate, assume, because I don't think you can take that and assume that you're not going to know you're going to miss all of this stuff. You know what I mean? These topics, like they're just, beautifully all over the board, which I happen to love, and lots of them hit on things that like are, square up my alley. I have a list of ones that I saw that I didn't have time to listen to. I'm going to go back and listen.
Thank you. Yeah.
But only just only a beep over that part.
Yeah. Well, one of my good friends has told me the same thing, is that you can get away, and you don't need to be saying fuck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not saying that I have a princess mouth, but I am.
Right.
It's only for that, because my superpower is parsing language. So just so that's where I'm coming from.
That's kind of what he says too. So,
so for our episode, will you put a beep?
Yeah. Next one I will. This one is because it's already done. I'll do it on I'll tell you what, how about on the second part? Because I'm going to play it again here, and I will go somehow bleep over it. I'll turn it down for a second, and I'll say something, and then because it's recorded all live, so it's yeah, it just kind of goes. But
I trust that you have the technical know-how.
yeah, well, it's the least technical know-how to be able to do it without having to redo anything afterwards, and no post-production stuff to just be able to throw it right up. But I can do it for this one for sure, and I will. I have the weekend to work on something for new. Yeah, you're welcome. And so yeah, thank you for coming on, and we'll have a good rest of your day, and I'll make sure that it is not there at the end.
All right.
Right.
Thanks. It was an awesome chat. I appreciate you having me.
Well, likewise.
Good luck with everything.
Thank you. You too. All right. That's Kimberley Mansfield. So I'm not going to say motherfucker, so I'll just say it there. But yeah, maybe I'll figure something else out. There was a tape I have. If you go to my YouTube channel, there's the Fire Water Burn song by Bloodhound Gang, and it's the Beavis and Butthead remix. And so, because they say motherfucker on that, so maybe I will take some of that and do that. So, I wonder. So if I go and I open something up, and I go to Beavis and Butthead, get some quick little clip video. I bet there's no like short one. Yeah, I'll figure that out some other time. So I'll just do this. So you guys, thanks for listening here on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, QGBN, with other great shows such as Fred Ben Savage's Buck, Stoner Eats Productions, Hardcore Entertainment, Hypnosis is Great, and Sock'emUp.org. Check out other great shows on the Quantum Global Broadcasting Network, such as When the Gloves Come Off, This Is It with Lizzie, the Thinking Man's Pro Wrestling Podcast, and Saved by the Ben. And that is the show, man. Boom.
It's Rusty Diamond, It's Rusty Diamond, mother.
Darner.
Ernest! Ernest!
Yes, Pee-wee.
You brought the snacks, right?